What's up guys, Reaper Knives, and today I just want to make a quick video guide on my Jacob's Vex build. This build should hopefully be future-proof, as Vex's bleed will most likely get a huge nerf, so I wanted to make something that was not reliant on bleed and allows you to do a lot of gun damage to a lot of enemies really quickly. The only thing in that kit that will most likely get a nerf is going to be the crit knife, but even if that gets a nerf, I still think this build will be very strong because we have many other ways of getting crits easily and reliably. So let's get right into it. Starting out with the skill trees, we're going to go down green primarily because we want to get all the way down to Mortal Terror. This is the most important skill in the entire build, allowing every kill skill we use to be activated just purely on critical hit damage. This is very vital to the entire build, and this is just the most important skill. Just know that. So basically, anytime I'm talking about kill skills, just know every kill skill in this build does not require killing anything. All you have to do is get a critical hit. So for example, Grave Sights, kill skill, Vex gains increased critical damage and gun handling. We do not need to get a kill here. All we gotta do is critically hit an enemy and all of a sudden our critical hit damage is even more. Same thing with Grave Implements. Critical hitting an enemy gives us even more gun damage. Target Perseverance allows us to critically hit even easier without actually having to hit a critical location. And Grave Power is just an instant 3 out of 3 because it allows all of our kill skills to just double in size. So for example, Grave Sights caps out at 45% damage normally. It actually caps out to 90% damage when you have this skill active. Going down the tree, we ended up taking Drink Full. This is actually a wasted perk because we are using Jacob's weapons, and not too many Jacob's guns actually will benefit from fire weight. So for the most part, you're basically not even really getting the benefit from this, but there are a few instances in some guns where you can actually get this to work. And then obviously Mortal Terror, like I said, just the best perk in this entire skill tree. Run this because it's very powerful. Next up, going to the blue tree, we're going to be taking 5 out of 5 into Sanguine Fiends. This is just another kill skill that will allow us to keep our health up as well as our minions' health up every single time we critically hit an enemy. We take 5 out of 5 into Cold Iron because it's just free gun damage and free minion damage, which is always very good. And then we also take 5 out of 5 into Grave Fiends, which is another kill skill that increases our gun damage and our minion damage even more. We end up having about 6 points left over, so I end up throwing 3 into Idle Hands, which allows us to reload even faster, which is really good for Jacob's weapons. And then I think I already went over it. The other 3 points go into Guns and Needles, which just allowing us to get a rep kit even faster. Now, one thing I actually didn't go over when I was going over the skill tree is actually our action skill. For the most part, we actually take Dead Ringer because it allows us to get even more critical hit chance for a duration after spawning a Spectre, which is the only thing we're going to be spawning. I know we can use Incarnate, but the thing is that I personally don't think this is a good action skill. That might be a hot take, but I think Vex kind of suffers in the action skill department because Incarnate, to me, is kind of weak. And then, Trouble is in a lot of trouble because this action skill kind of sucks. So for the most part, we're only really using Dead Ringer in order to get that crit hit chance, but outside of that, we don't really use action skills that much in this build because it's primarily a gun damage build. Alright, let's talk our guns next. The main weapon of this entire build is going to be the Hellwalker. The reason why we use the Hellwalker over something like the Hot Slugger is because this gun is multi-pellet, allowing it to activate Mortal Terror a lot more often than something like the Hot Slugger would do. Now, I do want to say that I know a lot of people are probably mad that this gun is not fire damage, and I think you guys are wrong, because I think this gun is actually better as kinetic because it allows it to just ignore any sort of shield or any sort of armor in the game, making it even better for dealing high damage against enemies with those immunities. So if this thing became fire, it all of a sudden gets worse against armor and shield, so I actually hope this thing stays as kinetic damage. The next weapon I want to talk about is going to be the Ballista. This is by far the best sniper rifle in the game, and it's not even close in my opinion. This thing shreds bosses, it does so much damage, and I strongly recommend farming for it if you're willing to be flashbanged by the Timekeeper every 10 seconds, because that is where this drops from. If you're lucky enough to get it as a world drop, be grateful because this farm was a nightmare. The next weapon I want to talk about is going to be the Bonnie and Clyde. This gun is actually pretty good. The assault rifle version of this gun is incredibly strong, and I think that it is deserving of a slot in your inventory. Although the shotgun portion of this gun is, in my opinion, pretty weak, it is deserving of a buff. Because even when you get 100% more damage for the shotgun from using the assault rifle, it's still pretty mid compared to other shotguns like the Hot Slugger or the Hellwalker, for example. Next up, we got the 7 Cents. This is an incredibly good pistol, but I actually think the better pistol is going to be this one right here, the Phantom Flame. I know it's talking about how the Hellwalker should not be fire damage, which is the main reason why we end up using this, because if at any point we do have a big beefy flesh enemy, this thing will shred. All it does is allows you to zoom in, lock in, and be able to deal a lot of damage. Next up, let's talk our equipment. As for our rep kit, we keep it very simple. I use a purple rep kit, and all you really need on this thing is going to be Enrage. Enrage is just an all-around incredibly good perk for your rep kit because it gives us even more damage just by taking a little bit more damage. So essentially, anytime I see a boss or a big beefy target, I will use my rep kit, and all of a sudden, all my gun damage is even more. So Enrage is the modifier you want to go for. Everything else is bonus. You don't really need to go anything crazy with this. Just try to get Enrage. As for our ordnance, we run the crit knife. Now, even if this thing does get a nerf in the future, I still think this is going to be best in slot for this build because with how many critical hits we're dealing, it's just all around the best thing for us to be using. Our enchantment is going to be anything involving Jacobs. This one actually is a god roll in my opinion. It's got fire rate, crit damage, and magazine size. It could be a little bit better if it had gun damage on there, but I'm not complaining. I think this is actually incredibly good. I use the leaper part, which allows it to have a 40% chance to ricochet to enemies on a non-critical hit. So even more ricochets when we're not critical hitting, and critical hits is something we're going to be doing all the time. So during that one moment where you don't critically hit, you're also going to ricochet. It's incredibly strong. As for our shield, we go for the Fireworks, specifically one with a shock resistance on it. If you didn't know, when you get a certain resistance on this, the Fireworks actually come out and hit enemies as that element. So we want shock because it's always nice to be able to kill an enemy and then all of a sudden a shield on another enemy gets destroyed because the Firework hit it, and now all of a sudden you're able to deal even more damage to that enemy quicker and faster without having to break a shield. Next up is the Teen Witch class mod. This is, in my opinion, Vex's best class mod in the game. It just allows us to have even more survivability, and when we're using something like Enrage where we're taking more damage, this is just able to kind of offset that. And any sort of boss fight where you're just laying on the trigger onto a big target, you're just not able to die because you constantly have an overshield and you're constantly gaining even more shield from this class mod. So I strongly recommend farming for this and getting a decent roll. This is actually not the best roll because it has status effect damage, which means it could be even better if I got some other better passive on here. Alright, next up, let's talk about firmware. If you actually notice, these down here have actually changed to Deadeye because that is what I believe to be the best in slot for this build. More critical damage, 25%, and then another 75% at max stacks for 3 out of 3. This is by far the best thing for this build because we're critting all the time. As for the other firmware pieces, we have Oscar Mike, which allows us to get even more reload speed for our Hellwalker. And then I have Risky Boots. This is just a random throwaway one. Probably something better you can have. If I could have even more reload speed, I would, but right now, this is just what I have on my rep kit. This is what I recommend, mainly 3 out of 3 and Deadeye. Next up, let's talk about specializations. All you gotta know, aim down sights while you're downed, gun damage for aiming down sights, more action skill cooldown for using a rep kit, and then finally, more gun damage just for dealing gun damage. There's probably better stuff in the specialization trees, but this is just what I'm using for right now. With how many points I've made, I don't really want to see her grinding specializations all day, but for the most part, this is what I've been using. The rest of the video is just going to be a quick vault run, just as a proof of concept, just to show you guys exactly what this build can do. So thank you very much for watching, and I appreciate you very much. Have a great day, and enjoy the gameplay.
failure could only be hidden away.
You look ridiculous.
Dying is easy. I should have known you'd go the hard way. This guardian guards only itself. For one so keen on purpose, naughty Timekeeper has robbed his progeny of it.
Catch this! Resistance has been revoked!
Final challenge. A pity. I was starting to like you. False guardians do not mean false treasure. End this malformed thing's suffering and take from it that with which the Timekeeper imbued it. addition to our number, Vault Hunter. Now, add his strength to your own. A portion of his power, misplaced,